Mikko Nassi, hello, welcome.
Hey Ben, good to
Good to
see you.
see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, and good to see you in person soon. I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, they've started racing down at Sepang, so yeah, are you doing any coaching for the karters or anyone that's competing in any of the upcoming races at Sepang?
Yeah, actually, I hope to be in Malaysia in about 2 weeks, I think, from now. With there's the X30 or Malaysian Karting Championship round where a few of the kids from Singapore are going to compete in as well.
Did that happen about 3 weeks ago? 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yes, there was. I think that was the first round. I was down there for that, and yeah, or actually, there was one round I skipped. There was sorry, I was in a round before, I think. But yeah, couldn't get to the previous one because of flights being booked out already. But
Right. And you just got back from Finland, right?
yeah, so I had first trip since COVID was some work in UAE in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and then Finland for a bit of a holiday.
Now, you were coaching a driver in the Ferrari Challenge support race at the Dubai 24 Hours.
Yeah, so we had it was a double header effectively, 2 weekends back to back, a race in Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, and then a race in Dubai with the basically Ferrari Challenges or Ferrari Challenge Asia's first race since March 2020.
Right. Okay. So your racing career started in Malaysia, right? Were you born here or just raised here from a young age?
No, so racing for me started actually in Finland when I did have a short spell. I'm from Finland and lived in Finland in my when I was around 12, if I remember correctly, and that's where I started karting, which was first in indoor stuff, and then we got an outdoor race kart as well. But then shortly after that, we moved to Malaysia, and yeah, most of my racing has been Malaysia.
Okay. Yeah, bit of a coming onto a stalwart of racing here in Malaysia. Driver coach extraordinaire now. What do you prefer doing at the end of the day?
Yeah, racing's always good, but you also have the stress of finding a budget and that kind of deal. And I'm probably not good enough at that, so that's why coaching is maybe the preferred thing, at least in the long run.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a while now. I remember the good old days. You would stay at my place on race weekends.
Yeah, and even before then, yeah, coaching for me started just basically through like the team manager that I was racing for recommending me after just casually giving tips to other drivers, and then when some people started asking for coaching, then yeah, I was the guy that was recommended and quite enjoyed it and kept doing it.
Yeah, I was just thinking last night about the mischief we would get up to when you would stay at my place over a race weekend. Those were
Yeah, analyzing the driving, you mean? Late nights
analyzing the
analyzing the
driving.
driving.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
analyzing the driving. Cool. So, you've been doing a bit of racing whilst you're coaching as well. But your success in the driver coaching side of things has been quite amazing, actually. It's as if everything you touch turns to gold. Not that you touch the drivers. I mean, everything you coach turns to gold.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. It's always cooperation between myself and the driver, and yeah, I mean, if the driver's not into the coaching, then of course it won't work. But that's pretty rare. That yeah, I don't usually get hired if the driver doesn't want me to get give them coaching. But that can be an issue with some of the kids in karting that the parent pushes the coaching, but the kid's not really into it yet or doesn't really want to do it. They're a lot more focused on having fun on the track, but of course I have to bring the fun as well for especially for the kids.
That was it. That's the other thing. I mean, how do you deal with that? Because through AMD, we were getting a lot of interest from parents. They would send us the sponsorship proposals and ask us to find sponsors for their kids, and would go to the track and do a bit of scouting. And there were several quite a few meetings that we had with parents, even down at the track, where you could tell that the kid just didn't want to be there, and you could sense that it was the parent living vicariously through their son and daughter, and it was a bit hard. I mean, it got to that stage, and I'm sure you see this as well, being the scout that you are, is you may have parents kind of trying to get you on board, but you're watching them, and we can tell that, the kid really doesn't have it and is not going to go very far, but that parent's persisting, and how do you deal with things like that?
Yeah, I mean it's of course every situation is different. It's every kid is different, every parent is different, and ultimately, of course, from the parent's perspective, it all comes through love. Even when it is detrimental and actually limits the progress in many different ways, it's still through love. They want the best for their kid, but then it's often a matter of just trying to get across that some things that are going on aren't necessarily the best. But then the specific situation that you mentioned, that the kid really isn't interested or doesn't really have it, then that's the not being interested is quite rare. I'm not sure I've come across that too many times, and that's often more at the very young age. If you, but yeah, now I am getting a few incidents in my head where maybe the kid did lose interest, but then the one incident I'm thinking of, it was the parent and the kid kind of together decided that it's a fun hobby, but that's about it.
Well, that's the key word, hobby. That's what I was trying to mean, is that you get to that stage where you've got to face them and have that discussion about whether this is just a hobby or whether they do have a career planned out. Because, as you know, to succeed in motorsport, you need to actually have a business plan and a career laid out.
Yeah, and I mean, I often tell parents and kids that the best way to go racing is to have a successful career somewhere else and then go racing for fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That depends on your goals and aspirations.
true, true. I mean, that's perfectly fine for GT racing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but if the kid is having aspirations for Europe and high level single seaters, then they do have to start pretty young. Is that what age are you? What age do you think is the best to start, well, getting serious about things?
I mean, that's tough because it depends so much on the I guess maturity of the kid as well. Like, I mean, I can coach a 12-year-old kid that's more mature than a 50-year-old driver that I coach, and then their approach can be very different. You know that they can be independent about things, they can succeed even with a lot of time away from parents, that kind of deal. But yeah, of course, there's a time crunch. At a ballpark figure, it does start early. You have to be serious by 12, 13 kind of range. If you leave it until later, then you're probably missing out.
Yeah, yeah. And have you ever had that situation where you've kind of helped guide the parent and their child in the direction, or maybe a different direction that they had, if they had their mind set on single seaters, but you can see that the child or even the teenager or mature driver has a lot more potential for, say, GT racing, and you've got to kind of guide them away from one or the other?
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I guess if a driver has a lot of potential for GT racing, they probably have a lot of potential for anything else as well. If we're talking world level kind of deal versus making a career of let's say being a driver coach slash driver together with someone. But I haven't I don't have any situations like that spring to mind immediately, where I've had to kind of change the path. But I guess in that also a massive deciding factor in that kind of approach is the budget available. Because you can go towards GT racing with the goal of having your drive partially funded by a gentleman driver, for example, and that can work as a platform to make a professional career out of it, even to factory drives and that kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we've been thinking for many years now. Is you can if you're young, you can perspire and go through the stress and trials and tribulations of trying to forge a single-seater career, and join the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of other kids trying to do the same thing and fighting for the same sponsorship dollars. Because single-seaters, you need a far lot more money, a bigger budget, or you can go down the GT route where you can forge a very strong career, right? Because you're not stuck in one particular series. You can travel the world. You can compete in different GT series, race for different teams, drive different cars. And once you get to a level, then you actually become a salaried driver faster than you would in single seaters.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think single seaters still have a place no matter what. It's a different kind of car. It's a kind of car that you should learn how to drive before or while taking up the GT stuff. But yeah, there's so many factors that come into the decision.
And so, speaking about full focus, what other kind of services? What do you focus on through your business? What's your attack when it comes to offering driver coaching?
Yeah, I mean, Full Focus Racing is basically just my own coaching brand. Occasionally, I've had some other drivers coach under the brand as well, but it's been mainly myself. And more recently, of course, during COVID, it's switched back towards karting, except the recent Ferrari Challenge trip. But we also right now we've been doing some karting camps, so it's a bit more of a structured group coaching kind of deal for the kids in karting. That's we have one coming up in a few weeks in Singapore. But yeah,
Are you
so
doing that down at the KF1 karting?
we're doing it at the Jurong Arena, which is now called the Karting Arena at Jurong.
Hey, is that the old karting arena? Did you say?
So it used to be called,
Yeah, karting arena, wasn't it?
yeah, I think Karting Arena. Then it was called KF1 Arena when the guys from Kranji took over it, and then now it's under a different management or ownership again, and it is the Karting Arena at Jurong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've been meaning to find out about that because I used to do the commentary for the Singapore Karting Championship
Yeah.
down at that track. Became good friends with Alan Teo and his wife Lynn and their daughter Gabrielle, who was quite a superstar go-karter. And then it was just last year, I think, I noticed that they laid down new tarmac, and it looked like there was new owners. Who's got control of that now?
I don't remember all the details or names, but Auto Inc. is one of
Ah,
the
right,
main players. Yeah.
Ben Solomon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they've got quite a big team actually. They're quite prominent in Asian karting.
Yeah, so now that track is works quite well especially for the kids. It's a bit of a shorter track, smaller track, and there's I think three teams primarily that have their base there, which is Fireball, which caters mainly to the adults, hobbyist kind of drivers. Then there's Ital Course that I've done a lot of work with, and they focus primarily on the kids. So they've got a huge amount of kids ranging from about 5 years old to roughly 13. Most of them fall in that window, and they've done a really good job during COVID of getting new drivers into the sport. And then finally Auto Inc., of course, has their garage there as well.
Right, right. And with COVID, the past 2 years since, well, basically motorsport in Asia was shut down for 2 years. Was there anything you could do in terms of driver coaching, even though there wasn't racing, like doing some coaching or advising online, doing online courses?
Yeah, well, I've been building an online course now, but I didn't do much myself for remote stuff. There's been a little bit where I analyze video when some drivers are overseas, they send the video over. But otherwise, in Singapore, the karting industry has actually benefited from COVID. Oddly enough, it's not something you'd expect at first. But there's been no real racing. But because everyone's stuck in Singapore, you've got the drivers that normally race overseas. They end up doing a lot more practice here, and then of course you have new drivers that have been looking for something to do because they can't travel, and I guess they have a bit more disposable income as well because they're not spending it on holidays. So yeah,
Yeah.
so surprisingly, or maybe in hindsight, not really, but yeah, for the local teams, it's actually been financially good as long as the tracks haven't been shut down.
Right. So even though they're not allowed to compete in racing, they can still go down to the track and put in some practice laps.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Ah. And I mean, how big are the grids these days? I remember prior to COVID, the grids would be like full, 20, 30, 40, 50 races, even up to the veterans had 20, 30 drivers competing.
Yeah, and that's always gone. And of course, it depends if you're talking Singapore regional. But even Malaysia now has seen a little bit of a boom, I think, from COVID, because they are organizing races now and they have enough local drivers to kind of sustain a series. Whereas pre-COVID, if you look at the Malaysian grid, it was just a very rough guesstimate is about 20% Malaysian drivers,
Right.
and then the
Yeah.
rest were from overseas. Of course, depends on the category as well and which event exactly. But yeah, so I don't have the numbers on top of my head what they might be now, but I think in Singapore, if you have a race series starting up now, it'll be pretty strong.
Yeah, we had the MSF last week at Sepang. That was the first round in a couple of years, Malaysian Speed Festival. But I mean, have you been touching base with any of the top guys from ASN down in Singapore? Is there any kind of a different outlook to the future of motorsport in Singapore?
I haven't talked much with the local guys here. I mean, I know Lung Li Lung Li Nian has been doing stuff. He's now what's his position? Vice President of Motorsport Asia or something like
Yeah,
that in
Asia
FIA,
Pacific.
Asia Pacific. Yeah. So yeah, Singapore is heavily involved, of course, and I'm sure that's going to be beneficial to the local motorsport scene. And then, of course, there's a renewal of F1 for was it 5 years, which of course I'm sure everyone in Singapore involved with motorsports is happy about.
Yeah, I'm talking to Lung at the moment where we're organizing a time for him to come onto the podcast. Yeah, because he's been a fantastic president of the ASN Singapore Motorsports Association.
Yeah.
And I think really the difference, I've seen a couple of past presidents. I think the difference with Lung is the fact that he's an actual racer himself and he still competes. He was competing in the karting series a few weeks back at Sepang.
Yeah.
And that just makes an obvious difference because he knows exactly how the drivers are feeling, what the drivers want, what the teams are expecting, and he can get the job done. So yeah. So what are your plans for this year? There hasn't been any confirmation of the GT Asia series yet. There hasn't been any calendars actually for local Asia racing. But how about Europe and America? Because you've done coaching both in those continents before, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, for yeah, Europe has mainly been for things like Ferrari Challenge for their World Final events, and then karting primarily in Italy and a few other countries as well. But yeah, like you said, the calendars are kind of up in the air, and no one really knows what's going on, and it's impossible for the calendars to be set in stone because you don't know about the travel restrictions. So we'll see. I mean, I know Ferrari Challenge is trying to get the rest of the series done for later in the year, but it'll probably push towards the second half or towards the last quarter even.
Right.
But yeah, once those calendars are announced, then I know a little bit more about my plans. But it's good that things are okay regionally now as well. Looks like Malaysia's opening up the border, so yeah, at least should be able to get some racing action in Malaysia, if nowhere else.
Yeah. Well, at the start of February, they said they would open the borders to tourists on the 1st of March. Halfway through February, the government said they'll open the borders to tourists at the 1st of March. What are we on now? The 8th, 9th of March? Still,
Yeah,
still
yeah.
nothing up in the air. But I mean, they should. I mean, most countries are falling together now. I mean, I think a lot of the countries are just treating it like the flu. Everyone's vaccinated. If you get it, well, you will be a little bit ill, but nothing too serious. So it's all about getting on with it. We have what I want to do with our guests. I want to do. I call it to pit or to stay out,
All right.
and it's my take on would you rather or this and that, where I'm going to give you two options, and you tell us your preferred one, and you can discuss why. And yeah, let's see what's inside Mikko Nassi's brain here. All right, so the first one is F1 or MotoGP.
F1 because I know it better, but at the same time, I actually love MotoGP. But in recent years, I just haven't tuned in. So yeah, F1.
Yeah, true. Although you must admit the MotoGP riders have far bigger balls of steel than Formula One
Oh
drivers.
yeah, and the rider makes more of a difference as well. That's I don't think that can really be argued.
It's just crazy how you can have three leadership changes around one bend in MotoGP.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Now,
yes,
narrower vehicles help, and the largely lack of downforce. But yeah, those guys are good.
all right. Well, then let's try this one then. F1 or GT racing.
Tougher one. I mean, again, spectating wise, I haven't really tuned into GT racing that much, but driver's perspective, that's a tough one. F1 in recent years, the cars don't really even look that exciting to drive. I mean, they're fast, but they're on rails, and of course in races they're a lot slower than they are in qualifying trim. But yeah, I guess GT racing depends a little bit on what kind of GT racing as well.
Yeah. Career or no career, longevity.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, staying on the F1 topic, Lewis or Max?
They're both absolutely insanely good drivers. Really, really good drivers.
You don't have to be diplomatical now.
Max has an interesting attitude. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, or
I like Max because he sim races so much,
yeah,
and he's insanely good at it, and he yeah, of course he's insanely good because he takes it seriously.
and he attacks.
Yeah.
What did you think about the ending of Abu Dhabi last year?
I thought it was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if they got the safety car in a lap earlier, left the cars where they were, and then Max would have charged through the back markers in a few corners, and then I think it would have made for a much more exciting finish, even more exciting than it was. I think it would have gone down to the last few corners rather than the first few corners of the last lap.
Yeah, but if you notice, I mean, what do you think? Michael Massey did the wrong move? Did you think it was the wrong decision? Do you think he succumbed to the pressure of Red Bull, or it was seriously a look? We need to finish this championship with a race on the track, not under the yellows. And keeping in mind, I think a lot of fans don't realize that there's a team of stewards that are collaborating together. I mean, it's not just this one man who makes all the decisions on his own. But yeah, what do you think about? Because that's become quite a controversy actually, and we know now that Michael Massey has been relieved of that position.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, moments after it, I I did expect him to not be in the position anymore because yeah, I think he had something like four possible choices and he chose the fifth one, which yeah, it just
Yeah,
isn't. Yeah, it's not right from the perspective that you have to do what's in the rule book. You can't be making stuff up as you go. And yeah, like you said, I wouldn't want to be in that position. That's it's a tough position to be in. But yeah, maybe he did get a little bit too focused on the show or having a show rather than sticking to the book.
yeah. Well, it was a little bit inconsistent during the whole year, really. There were some big races there that had questionable decisions. And then you've just got that ridiculous race in Saudi Arabia where it was like 5 restarts, right? 20 yellow flags, 50 safety cars. That was crazy. But yeah, I want to get Ravan race director on the podcast, get his insight
Yeah,
to
yeah.
this. All right, we got two more here. This one might be an easy one for you. Driving or coaching?
Still prefer driving.
But is it a similar satisfaction though? Like when you've coached a driver and he takes that top step of the podium, because you're a part of that, you're part of his team. You helped him get there, or is it completely different feeling?
Yeah, I guess pretty similar, but then also I'm kind of a typical Finn where the highs and lows on the emotional scale don't go nuts. So if I'm up on the podium, by the time I get to the podium, I've already celebrations when you cross the line, and then
True.
I think Kimi or Mika said something along the very same lines. That yeah, I think it was Kimi said yeah, you celebrate when you cross the line and you're not jumping around anymore afterwards.
Yeah,
Job's done.
and celebrate when you've left the track and back at the hotel bar.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, remember when I would announce you on the podium as McNasty?
yeah. Thanks.
All right, let's try this one. Bring back pit stop refueling or don't bring it back
Yeah,
in Formula One?
yeah, yeah.
Yes, bring it back.
Yes, bring it back. The cars are too heavy,
Yeah,
and now that yeah, this year they're even more heavy. So if you have refueling, at least they're not heavy for as heavy as they are.
the cars are quite sexy this year, actually. The new
Ah,
design.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They look insanely good. I think the only thing is the front wing's a bit high,
Right. Is that
but
that's one of the main reasons for this porpoising? Is it?
I haven't looked into that enough. I think it's the ground effects. The car gets too low. I don't think the front wing has much to do with it, but I
Right.
don't know.
Cool. So, all right. Well, hopefully we're going to have some more calendars released in the coming weeks in terms of racing in Asia.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about what your thoughts are on the like pre-COVID, the state of Asian motorsport, and if you could see any improvements to the Asian motorsport industry from what you see and from what you've participated in.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have that good a picture of most series, but on the karting side, one thing that's always frustrating, it seems, no matter where you go, it's not just Asia. It can be anywhere. Is how the different organizers of competing race series really do compete against each other rather than trying to grow the sport as a whole. They're trying to get a bigger chunk of a small pie rather than building the pie.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, actually. Yeah, it seems like everyone is competing against each other. I mean, it's nothing vicious. It's not premeditated or anything like that. But yeah, with this industry being so closely, tightly knit, and everyone knowing everyone, yeah, you don't see much collaboration. Everyone's fighting for the same sponsorship dollar, but they're always trying to steal the other teams and fill their grids with everyone else, really. Um, and yeah, I mean, we need more leaders of ASNs like Lung who are actual racers and not the old racers from the old days who are basically in their positions for the ego.
Yeah,
That's one of the issues there.
yeah. I mean, it's especially in karting, if you have grids of total grids of 40 or 50 drivers, the potential is to have several thousand drivers that are actually racing. So if you have two competing series fighting over the same 50 rather than focusing on getting the thousands in, yeah, it's a short term focus rather than a long term focus.
Yeah, so is it still Rotax Max and the IAME? Oh, the IAME is the X30, right?
Yeah, X30 series. So in Malaysia now, I think it's called the Malaysian Karting Championship, which is now moving towards X30. And on the Rotax side, I believe that's under a new distributor now.
Oh,
The Morak guys with I think it's
yeah.
Hashimoto, but I haven't talked to anyone, or all I know is what I've seen on Instagram and social media for that
Okay.
series.
Yeah, I'll speak to some guys from there, find out what's going on. All right, cool. Well, it's been great to catch up with you, mate.
Likewise, it was good.
Hopefully, we'll bump into each other down at the track, and hopefully we'll get to see some more racing down at Sepang. We've got half a dozen big series that we're waiting on for their calendars. Yeah, we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll see each other soon down at the track.
Yeah, that'll be good.
All right, mate. Catch you around.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers.